Good afternoon, fellow truth seekers. My name is Adam Livingston, and I am the Bitcoin Wizard. Strap in because we're about to punt the sacred cow of CPI straight into orbit. Before we get started, if you'd like more daily analysis of the greatest wealth transfer in human history, like this video and subscribe to the channel. I'm over here bringing heat every day, arming you intellectually with the knowledge that you need to navigate this dystopia. If you want to keep your kids away from the rationed cockroach protein paste in 2030, do your part in helping the algorithm so we can spread the orange pill to the masses. So picture the Bureau of Labor Statistics in a cheap suit yanking silk scarves out of its sleeve while your wallet disappears. They wave the CPI card, 2%, maybe 7% if they feel spicy, and the crowd applauds, unaware the rabbit is already in the frying pan. Here's the real headline, folks. Inflation is not a polite little number. It's a raging, multi-dimensional beast devouring everything priced in dollars. CPI is just the beast's manicure. Meanwhile, the monster is swallowing your house, your retirement, and your kids' college fund like a buffet at Golden Corral. Since 1971, we have lived in an asset inflation theme park. Stocks moon, housing rockets, bonds mutate into million-dollar Twinkies. They tell us that's wealth creation. Translation: the currency lost so much weight, it sneaks through keyholes. So today we will autopsy this Franken-Fiat experiment, expose why the CPI is a carnival mirror, and why Bitcoin is the emergency exit that actually works. Buckle up, get a popcorn bucket for your tears, and prepare to watch the greatest monetary magic trick get Houdini-level debunked. Welcome to the myth of inflation, starring CPI. That crooked little mascot politicians wheel out like a clown at a child's birthday party. They chant 2% with the same enthusiasm televangelists use to promise salvation for $29.99. Meanwhile, the dollar's soul is running a meth lab behind the bouncy castle. Let's decode the scam. CPI looks scientific. It has decimals and charts, but the basket is curated like a Kardashian Instagram feed. Every item with real price velocity gets airbrushed away. Housing swapped for owner equivalent rent, a phrase so absurd it could only have been invented during a Washington happy hour with a bottom shelf bourbon. College tuition vanished, health insurance magically adjusted for quality improvements, as if your premium doubled because your doctor now greets you with jazz hands. Reality is messier. Now listen to this. Inflation is a vector, a chaotic swarm of numbers moving in every direction at once. CPI grabs one tame pigeon from that swarm, clips its wings, and calls it representative. Meanwhile, the rest of the flock is dive-bombing your savings account like Hitchcock's birds on crystal meth. So the next time a smug pundit says inflation is under control, remember, they are measuring a bonfire with a scented candle. Our job today is to drag that candle into the furnace and watch the narrative melt. So time to toss out the nursery school idea that inflation is a single tidy percentage and meet its truest form, a snarling hydra with a separate set of fangs for every price that you care about. Visualize a 4D spreadsheet in your head right now. From the fever dream of a quantum mathematician. Down the left column, we list everything that can be bought. Picasso paintings, Miami condos, eggs, Ethereum gas fees, a therapy session for your cat. Across the top, we track place, income bracket, and time. In every cell, a different inflation rate is twitching like a laboratory rat on caffeine. Here's how weird it gets. The Picasso index is up 40+% since 2020 because billionaire hedgers went on an art shopping bender. The Case-Shiller Housing Index, 18.8% jump in 1 year, unless you live in Boise, Idaho, where the number looks like a crypto chart after a TikTok pump. Domino's Pizza CPI is basically flat, proof that modern alchemy can turn soy oil into eternal stasis. The 10-year treasury, okay, the yield imploded so hard on a 10-year 10-year treasury, the price of a sale of a 50 grand yearly coupon ballooned from $1 million to $10 million. That is 900% inflation dressed up as bond market dynamics. The point here is that talking about the inflation rate is about as useful as announcing the average temperature on Earth, and then using that to decide whether to pack snow boots or sunscreen. The proper question is, what is my personal inflation vector right now? If you rent in Kansas City and spend your life binging Netflix in your mom's basement, your vector is tame. If you hope to buy a brownstone in Brooklyn or keep up with the equity market, your vector looks like a SpaceX launch. The further you climb the wealth ladder, the fiercer your vector's gradient becomes. This is by design because scarcity clings to the rung above you like a jealous goblin. So from here on, whenever someone quotes a single inflation figure, imagine they just rolled out a 2-inch map of Mordor and tried to guide you to Mount Doom with a Crayola marker. Politely take their marker, snap it in half, and tell them we live in the vector space. Inflation doesn't tell you about your own inflation percentage based on what you want out of life. Now let's split inflation into its two favorite personalities, consumer and asset, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde arguing over the grocery bill. Consumer inflation is the stuff politicians wag on about. Bread, gasoline, a Costco rotisserie chicken still stubbornly priced at $4.99. Proof that loss leaders are the last line of defense between civilization and riot. This side moves slow enough that bureaucrats track it with clipboards and declare victory on cable news. You've seen this happen. Your Hulu subscription jumps up $1, eggs jump 30 cents, everyone grumbles, life goes on. Now, asset inflation is the unmedicated cousin hiding in the attic. He breaks out at night, cranks the thermostat, and torches your hopes of ever owning property. While the official CPI grins at 3%, the Case-Shiller Housing Index sends housing up 20% in a year. Private equity sharks bid up strip mall storage units to the moon, and the S&P behaves like a caffeinated pogo stick. Bonds crash like a 90s dial-up modem, which forces grandma to stump up $10 million for the same 50 grand annuity that cost $1 million a decade ago. So here is the horror movie twist. Both personalities live in the same body. Your dollar is that body. Consumer inflation robs your checking account in pennies so slowly you barely flinch. Asset inflation kicks down your door, grabs your future, and sells it back to you at auction. If you only watch CPI, you miss the home invasion in progress. So when talking heads brag that inflation is moderating, picture them measuring sea level while ignoring the tidal wave roaring behind them. Consumer inflation is the polite drizzle on your windshield. Asset inflation is the semi-truck hydroplaning straight for you. Duck accordingly. So remember, in bonds a decade ago, you dropped $1 million into a 10-year treasury and got 50 grand a year. Like a reliable old Labrador bringing you the newspaper. Fast forward to 2021, yields hit 0.5%. Suddenly, the same income costs $10 million. That Labrador is now a rabid wolf eating caviar from your 401k. Next up is housing. Real estate jumping up almost 20% in 12 months. This is pushing first-time homebuyers into eternal renter purgatory. Picture a millennial scrolling Zillow with tears in one eye and Robinhood with rage in the other, wondering if kidneys still fetch 6 figures on the dark web. They're installing the Tor browser as we speak. While stocks, digital monopolies ate the economy like Pac-Man after a meth binge. Apple, Amazon, and their buddies all absorbed every producer surplus in sight, levitating valuations to Jupiter. Economists clap because the S&P keeps setting records, ignoring the fact that the index is basically 5 companies stacked on a flimsy tower of zombie corporations. Hyperinflation looks cute when it wears an earnings per share bow tie. Even farmland is mooning because Wall Street discovered you can grow soybeans and store wealth in the same dirt. Bill Gates bought enough acreage to reenact Game of Thrones, except the dragons are tax write write-offs and the peasants are renters paying $4 for a single organic cucumber. This is the point where someone yells, "But my KFC combo meal still costs the same." Yes, the Colonel hears your prayers. Mass-produced chicken remains relatively cheap. A breadcrumb distraction while your ability to own any meaningful assets evaporates like a Snapchat message. Grocery aisle stability is the magician's left hand, waving so you never notice the right hand swapping your house keys for Monopoly money. Hyperinflation is here, wearing an asset costume so convincing most people cheer while being robbed. It is the biggest daylight bank heist since the invention of daylight. If you are still measuring inflation by the price of a Hulu subscription, congratulations, you brought a butter knife to a thermonuclear knife fight. Here we confront the real cost of capital, the black belt concept everyone pretends to understand while quietly Googling it in the restroom. The short version, if the S&P is humming along at roughly 10% a year, that 10% is now your oxygen tax. Anything earning less means you, financially speaking, are holding your breath in outer space. So take the humble, high-yield savings account currently bragging about 5% like a guy at a bar claiming he once got a backstage pass at a Coldplay concert. You feel proud until you realize the concert was 2006 and the bouncer was his cousin. 5% in a world where capital itself is inflating at 10 means you are sprinting up a down escalator, celebrating when you hit the same step again. This physics warp explains the national obsession with yield chasing. Grandma now owns a tech ETF full of companies that haven't found a revenue stream but already printed hoodies. Small-town dentists run side hustles as day traders, bidding on dog-themed coins at 2 a.m. because their bond ladder yields less than a lemonade stand. Everyone is trapped in a cosmic talent show where the judges only applaud double-digit returns, never mind the flaming chainsaws. Speculative bubbles are a natural byproduct of this. When capital must clear a 10% hurdle just to tread water, rational investment becomes an endangered species. You get luxury condos and cities with negative population growth, VC-funded apps that deliver artisanal ice to your doorstep, NFTs shaped like possums in bowling shirts. The economy morphs into a casino where the house edge is hidden behind ESG brochures. Corporate finance is not spared either. CEOs who once settled for 4% dividends now mainline zero-rate debt and buy back shares until the balance sheet looks like Swiss cheese. They're not even necessarily evil folks, they're obeying the cosmic scoreboard in front of them. Underperform and Wall Street feeds your company to activist piranhas. So what is the practical takeaway? If your portfolio includes anything yielding less than 10%, assume you are subsidizing someone else's Ferrari. Check your retirement plan, your muni bonds, even that rental property Aunt Carol swore was a can't miss. If the math falls short, understand you are volunteering for gradual impoverishment. In summary, the real cost of capital is the invisible cover charge to the wealth party. Fail to pay up, and you will spend your golden years eating K-cups with a spoon, recounting tales of your 2020 meme stock boom while your grandkids auction your Beanie Baby collection on a blockchain you cannot pronounce. Time to put inflation under a sociological microscope and watch it squirm. Think of it as the Hunger Games, except the arenas are zip codes and the prizes are houses that used to cost a year of wages but now require the GDP of small nations. Geography first is a big deal. Miami Beach is the Instagram influencer of real estate, posing with 20% annual price gains while Kansas City looks like a dad in cargo shorts wondering why everyone is overpaying for sunshine. Remote work refugees fled to Florida, bid condos into the stratosphere, and called it lifestyle arbitrage. They exported their California inflation faster than an Amazon Prime shipment. Meanwhile, Des Moines, Iowa sits quietly, affordable like that dinner coffee no one Instagrams, proof that cost of living inflation is a choose-your-own adventure novel written by Zillow. My point is, inflation is worse depending on where you want to live. Now let's talk about class. Working class inflation is a boxing match with food, rent, and gasoline as three separate opponents tagged in by OPEC and Tyson Foods. One bad month and you are choosing between brake pads and baby formula. Middle-class inflation is a cruel joker. You earn enough to dream of homeownership, then watch listings vanish like PS5 inventory. Asset inflation keeps the entry fee rising. Consumer inflation keeps your down payment shrinking. It is financial whack-a-mole on expert mode, and this is why living in the middle class today just sucks. Wealthy class inflation is a game of prestige leapfrog. A Palm Beach mansion used to secure bragging rights. Now you need a rocket company or a Picasso that doubles as a tax write-off. Even the rich feel the burn, just at higher altitudes where the air smells like vintage Cabernet and existential dread. Inflation, therefore, is not a tide lifting all boats. It is a riptide yanking rowboats out to sea while mega yachts floor the throttle. Your personal rate depends on where you live and how high you stand on the money ladder. The further up you climb, the more inflation morphs into a luxury tax on status itself. So when policymakers tout a healthy inflation rate, picture them quoting average rainfall while you watch a flash flood carry away your Hyundai. Geography and class decide whether you need an umbrella or an ark. Choose wisely or start learning to swim in champagne-priced water. Welcome to the magic show where the magician saws your net worth in half while the audience cheers like seals fighting over a beach ball. The trick begins with housing prices shooting to Mars. Realtors pop their champagne, cable news calls it a booming market. Boomers high-five because now their 30-year-old split-level home costs more than a Harvard education. Meanwhile, every millennial outside tech stock royalty is Googling tent lifespan in harsh climates. The same sleight of hand shows up in stocks as well. Your 401k balance flashes green fireworks. You feel like Gordon Gekko, but zoom out and realize the dollar is sinking faster than a crypto influencer's reputation. The chart only points up because the measuring stick is melting. It's like bragging about being taller after sawing 2 inches off the doorframe. Bureaucrats will help by dressing CPI in yoga pants and calling it slim. Asset inflation has been rebranded as the American dream, a marketing masterstroke that convinces you to celebrate your own poverty. Picture a burglar handing you a participation trophy while he wheels out your flat screen out the door. Congratulations, champ, you have been robbed in record time. So the next time you toast an all-time high, make sure the glass is half empty. You are not witnessing prosperity in this country. You are watching a currency keg stand contest judged by people who own the brewery. Spoiler alert, everyone wakes up broke with marker doodles on their forehead. Ladies and gentlemen and Fiat refugees, welcome to the emergency exit. Picture the global economy as a carnival cruise that hit an iceberg made of money printing. The band keeps playing smooth jazz CPI, the captain assures you everything is normal, meanwhile the lower decks are filling with diluted dollars. That lifeboat bobbing beside the ship is Bitcoin, and yes, it looks weird, yes, it smells like libertarians and GPU exhaust, but it actually floats. Why does it work? First, nobody can whip up another 20 million coins during a weekend summit. Scarcity is hard-coded like the final boss of inflation. Second, no central banker can freeze it, spin it, or rename it owner-equivalent SAT. The protocol doesn't care about committee meetings, it cares about math. And math never appears on cable news wearing a flag lapel pin. Geography cannot cage Bitcoin. Your condo in Miami sinks or soars depending on hurricanes or influencers. Bitcoin lives in cyberspace, immune to zip code drama. Corporate failure also cannot nuke it. Apple might release a tragic headset. Tesla could tweet itself into oblivion. Bitcoin will still settle blocks every 10 minutes like a cosmic metronome. Critics complain that price volatility makes them seasick. Fair, the lifeboat does wobble, but that beats clinging to a deck chair while the hull snaps in half. They also whine about energy use, ignoring the fact that modern finance already rewards miners with sound money instead of cocktail napkins promising 2% yields. So grab a life vest, scan a QR code, and stop dancing on the tilting deck. The iceberg will not melt for your 401k, the chain keeps ticking, the supply stays capped, and the lifeboat has room for anyone who realizes the party is over and the water is cold. My name is Adam Livingston, and I am the Bitcoin Wizard. If you don't understand inflation now, there may be no hope for your poor little soul. If you enjoyed this content, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more daily Bitcoin insights. Have a terrific day. Class dismissed.